Professor BRB here for our third and final lesson on mastering the pen tool. Please open up the file Pen Tool Mastery and let's navigate to artboard number 2 and take a look at the umbrella. And you will see that the umbrella has a kind of shape that we haven't drawn in the past, what I call a scallop. And this requires a special kind of corner point, a hinged corner point. And I'll show you how to make it. Choose your pen tool. And notice here, because I have this asterisk on the right, just below my pen tool, that means I'm starting a new path. And I'm going to click and drag up quite a good distance because I have a long curve here to make. Right at the top of my curve, I'm going to click and drag out. And I'm going to click and drag down. Now what I need, if I just click over here and drag down, I'm going to get not at all what I want. I'm going to get kind of like a big bulge. So Command Z. What I need to do now is access temporarily the Convert Direction Point tool. And that is actually part of the pen tool suite. And you can see if you look at this that it's represented by a wedge. Start that path again. Then I'm going to hold down my Option key so I can click and drag up a handle here. And I don't need to drag it as far because it's a shorter curve. Now I'm going to release my Option key, and here I'm going to click and drag down. Hold my Option key again, click and drag up, release my Option key, click and drag down. Hold my Option key, click and drag up. And here I want to close my path. Notice I get that little ring there, that little circle. That means my path is going to close. I just hold down my Option key here. I'm going to click and drag down. Now this isn't perfect, and that's fine. If I take my direct selection tool, if I click on each one of these curves, it should activate the two handles, and I can make whatever adjustments I need to. By the way, I am drawing in outline mode up here under View. That's what it would look like with the stroke, but I want to draw in outline mode because I can be more precise this way. Just going to do a little fine editing there, and I'm pretty pleased with this. It's good if you can keep your handles fairly balanced. It's not good to have one really short and one really long if it's a symmetrical sort of a curve. So doing the handle is super easy. Just click, 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 and close that path. Click. Perfect. That's easy. Let's try the shell next on artboard number 3, which has lots more scallops and gives us a lot of opportunity to practice and start just kind of seeing how good we can get at figuring out how far to click and drag. Kind of a short curve here, so I'm clicking and dragging up in a small amount. And now I'm clicking and dragging down. I'm holding down my Option key, and I'm clicking and dragging up in the direction of my curve. Releasing my Option key, clicking and dragging down. I can see I was a little bit short in the amount I dragged there. So next time, I'm going to just drag a little bit further. And I released my Option key there, and I'm clicking and dragging down. Still a little bit short. So I'm going to engage my Option key and drag up a little further. This curve is actually a little bit longer. And pretty soon you're going to get good at this. And you're going to start hitting it much closer. But don't worry about it if you have to go back and edit. That's a perfectly normal part of vector drawing. You can see when I engage my Option key here, I'm just going to click and drag in the direction I need to go, short distance, and click and drag. Down here, I am going to try just clicking and dragging a very short distance because I want a kind of a round curve there. And when I go back up to here, I want to make sure I'm closing my path and I'm getting that little ring. And I can hold down my Option key and click and drag down. So I have a little bit of editing here to do with my direct selection tool, and that's fine. You can see I've drawn with a fairly small number of points, which is for the better. And I'm going to make up for some of my little early miscalculations here. But as you work with the pen tool more and more, you'll become more and more able to get things quite close. And to repeat myself, it's really just a matter of practice. Practice makes perfect, one of my favorite proverbs. Students who know me in the classroom know how fond I am of proverbs because they so often have wisdom in them. So now we just have a little bit left to do down at the bottom. And just going to click here because that's a straight, and click and drag a little bit. Click and drag a little bit here. Every time I see a major change in direction, I need a point. Oops, daisy, that was not quite right, but click and drag here. Little editing with my ever convenient direct selection tool. Get my handles going in the right direction here and make sure I have smooth points. I need a rocker point there. It's very good. When I'm pleased with this, I think this is fairly symmetrical. So if I like the way it looks, I can just go to my Reflect tool here and choose a central point. Hold down my Option key and copy it. And then I just have a little bit of adjusting to do. And that was kind of the say, when I look at this, I see it's not exactly symmetrical. So I can decide either to make it exactly symmetrical or to do a little bit of editing here to go closer to what my guide was. And just get everything organized. Oops. That's all right. Command Z is your biggest friend. Okay, so let's go back and we see we have, we go to the preview mode. Have a nice looking shell here. Let's go to the selection tool and make sure my fill box is on top here. I can go to my swatches palette and fill it with a color, blue or red. And there we are. Before we conclude, I'd like to review the 4 kinds of points that we can make in Adobe Illustrator. So let's go back where we started on artboard number 1, instructions. Get our pen tool. And remember corner points. All we have to do is click. We don't have to hold down any keys. We just get corner points very easily. If I just go and click here, I'm going to get a continuation of that other path, and I didn't want that. So if I just hold down my Command key and click somewhere, that will start a new path, and you see I've got the little asterisk there. So to create smooth points, I click and drag, holding down my mouse button. Just click and drag. And click and drag. And click and drag. And remembering that smooth points have rocker handles, that what affects one side of the curve affects the other, therefore assuring that you have nice smooth curves. To create a curve to corner point, going back to my pen tool here, I click and drag up, and I click and drag down, and I can just click on the point to kill that second control handle, and then click and drag out. Very simple. Command key again to start a new path. And the last one that we covered today, the hinged corner point, I click and drag up, and then I click and drag down. And holding down my Option key, I drag my second handle up. And then I click and drag down. And if I wanted another hinged point here, I would hold down my Option key and click and drag up. So that summarizes how to use the pen tool. And all you need to do is spend time practicing. I think that by the time you have successfully drawn all of the shapes on artboards 1 and 2, you should be a good distance to pen tool mastery. And then if you want an extra challenge, you can go to artboard 4 and take on some of these shapes. So I wish you good luck. And next week we will start looking into Illustrator's very extensive color capabilities.